Dean Boyd, who was born in 1873. Oh, to tell you about my father is so much pleasure because we loved him so much. We were raised in our house that there would be no whispering because God made our ears to listen, and that's the way it had to be. We was raised to work. We all planted the garden together, and we all harvested the garden together, and we all worked very hard, but we loved it because he made it as a kind of a plaything. This is what we did. I know we picked potato bugs off his plants, and he gave us a penny apiece for them, and they would go into the side of his leg where he had an artificial leg, and our pennies would go in there, but we never realized years later, after Daddy had died, that he was using the same pennies over and over again to give us because we were very poor, but we didn't even realize we were poor. We always had plenty to eat and a place to sleep. I can remember my father making our toys for us, always making our toys for Christmas. We never realized you could buy them in the store. I know he made us each an ironing board. Of course, as I got older, I realized the ironing board that we used, that Mother taught us how to iron. She took in washing and ironing. And so she taught us how to iron with our new ironing board, so actually it was a work toy. But the thing I enjoyed the most that he made us, each of us, was a doll that was on a long stick, and it would rattle like a skeleton, the doll, but all beautifully painted. And every Sunday night after the minister came to the house to play the organ, we all had to sing. Dad would get a doll out. They were all named after each of us kids. And tonight would be Marjorie's doll. I never knew he could sing, and I still can't remember him singing, but I think he did a lot of humming. And he danced that leg, he would dance that doll with a board across his artificial leg and his good leg, and have that doll dance up and down on it and hum to it. That was such a wonderful time every Sunday night, because he'd have the dolls do different steps for each doll. So of course we used to judge our dolls. Of course I always thought mine was the best, but of course we all did. And he made our sleds for us. We never had any toys bought from the store. Everything was homemade. But boy, how nice it was. They stood up, they were painted, they were beautiful. I guess we never realized they sold toys in the store till we got older. But our Christmas was always beautiful with the things that we made to put on the tree, popcorn and cranberries, which we all did together. And I think we all had about 50 cents to $1 to do our shopping with, that we had to earn our own money to do this with. Of course, handkerchiefs back in that day were a penny apiece, so we could really buy a lot of handkerchiefs, and it covered the whole tree. My dad could really tell tales, I'm telling you. I know when he got mad at me, which is quite often, because I was kind of the mean one of the family, always laughing at the table when you weren't supposed to. He would always say, "Marge, when are you going to grow up? You've got to stop your giggling." And of course, I would giggle over anything. Being sitting next to my father at the table, I got snapped in the ears many a times for opening my mouth because only the mother and father could speak at our table. We had to sit with our hands folded, and Dad would fill the plate, and it had to be passed around each one, then fold your arms till the next plate was ready. None of us started eating until everybody had their plate in front of them, and a prayer was said. No talking was allowed at the table, only with my mother and father. But I got sent away from the table many a times, because having the buffet across from where I sat, my sister Dorothy, used to make me laugh all the time, and there absolutely was no laughing at the table either. So I was sent away from the table. But I never lost too much weight over it. And I know when he popped the popcorn that we had to eat it in silence, but not too much noise. My father lost his leg, I believe, back in 1937, 38. Of course, we never knew that Dad was as sick as he was because it was never talked about in our house, sickness. Of course, I found out as I got older that he had what you call stonecutter's TB. So he lost his leg. Never complained. Just an outstanding father and mother. I guess it's just good times I can remember playing outdoors. And I was told by my older sister Evelyn, who is 81 now, that Dad was a stonecutter. I know on the graves up to the cemetery in Mocha of my grandfather, he made my grandfather's stone. And he also made his sister's and his brother. So he was a polisher and a stonecutter, but I don't know where he worked. I don't know. I heard a rumor that it was Hardwick, but I don't know. He never discussed too much about anything from family, only our life in our house. So I really didn't know too much about his family, especially his mother and father. I only wish that I had known more about them. He certainly could tell stories, but nothing about family. I know he always told me when he got a little bit mad at me that the gypsies left me. I used to cry over that, and then one day he says, "Marge, come here, I've got to tell you something." It's one of my stories again. He says, what really happened was you was outdoors playing, and you was just a little baby. You was setting up in the dirt, so you must have been about a year old, and the gypsies came in the yard and they tried to steal you. And our dog Rover took a big hunk out of one of them and dropped you. So I kind of used that to tell you that the gypsies left you instead of trying to steal you. But he says that's what happened. So he never told me that they left me again. He never did things to hurt you, but that one did really kind of hurt me a little bit. He was good to everybody. Everybody loved him. He couldn't work, so of course he made clothes bars and things like that. He was a carpenter, and I know we had to sell them. Like I said, we all had to work. I had to go to work in a store when I was 9, and in a bakery when I was 10. But we never complained. And I guess that was because of the love that we had. I only wish that I could go back through those days now and know what I know today. And boy, would I ever dig him for information about everybody in his family that I don't know about. Because I really would love to know, because they must have raised him right, because he certainly raised all of us right to love everybody. And I try to show it.
What you tell us about the homemade medicine that he made.
Oh, yeah, he made his own medicine. We always used to watch him cook it down on the stove. Gooey looking things, but he'd go out back wherever and get all these weeds, we called them, and boiled them down. And he had a bottle for everything with his little medicines in it for coughing, sneezing, you name it. We never went to doctors. And let me tell you, his medicine always cured us. He sure could whip up anything to cure anybody on the street. They all came and got my father's medicine from him because they knew that it would cure them. I can remember the time that he made what you might say, an electric ice cream freezer. He thought, boy, I'm going to surprise Mom. So he took a motor off a wash machine that he had, an old one out there, hooked it to an ice cream freezer, and of course not having too much money in our day, Mom made up the batter for the ice cream. Out he went. The next thing I saw, my father with his little teeny rimmed glasses that he had on, completely covered with ice cream mix. And my mother saying, "Fred, now what did you do?" We really got a kick out of that one. But boy, I couldn't have been over 8, 9 years old when that happened. I think that maybe he should have gone on with that. Maybe he would have made money making electric ice cream makers.
Did Did you have a car when you grew
No,
up?
no, we never had a car. My father never had a license. I don't ever remember anything, only horse and buggy, that his brothers used to come and visit us from Boca. But no, Dad never had a car. Never. I don't know if he ever rode in one. I can't, but he must have, but I can't remember it.
Now, how many children were in the family?
There were 8 children, 2 brothers and 6 sisters. 6 girls, I should say. Very close-knitted family. But I think the last 4 of us that were left at home after the others all got married got really, really close. But it was a very close family. My father lived to be 67. And of course, my sister Dot and I happened to be there when he died. My mother was in the hospital having surgery. Of course, she came home that same day. He just loved everybody. I know I can remember him going out on the porch and keeping the score for the team of ball players that was at the Lakeside Garage. They'd go out every noon and play ball, and Dad would keep score for them. And they just loved him.
Why don't you talk about how old you were when your father died?
My father died when I was 12 years old, 1941. At 67 years old. He was getting ready to go back to the sanatorium. And he always said to us, I'll never go back there, because he had to go down there quite often.
And where was that?
I think it was in Pittsburgh, Vermont. We went down there 2 or 3 times to visit him when he was in there. But he never wanted to go back there. But we always thought it was a TV that was catching. We were never told any different until in later years when my sister told me that it was Stonecutter's TV. The dust from polishing stones and things caused it. It was a relief to me to know that it wasn't contagious, but back in those days they didn't have any cure for such a thing as that. Only sanatoriums where they sent him because he coughed so. I used to ask him, this minister that came to the house every Sunday night, was just looking at him, you'd laugh because he looked like Ichabod Crane. But we didn't belong to that church, we belonged to the Methodist church. And he really believed that we should go to church. So of course I'd be the only one that would dare to ask such a question. I said, how come you don't ever go to church, Daddy? Well, he says, you know, I pray a lot, but I pray up in the garden, sitting in my chair. And Marge, you don't always have to sit in the church to pray, because God is always with you, and you can pray outdoors or everywhere you want to. And that's where I do my praying, is outdoors, and he hears me good. Because he said he gave me a wonderful family, so he says I figured he hears me good. The minister that comes down to play the organ every Sunday night is a friend of mine. We don't belong to his church, but I like him. And he likes to come down and play these hymns so that he can keep me in tune. Of course, I can't remember him ever singing that well, but he must have hummed or something, because I know we all sang. But we had to listen to that every Sunday night for about an hour. But Dad really loved it, and I guess we did too.
Did your father play any instruments?
Only his dog on his leg there that we tapped with his foot, 1 foot there. No, he never did, that I know of.
Huh.
I know he made his first artificial leg himself. And of course, it's being a carpenter, but he took the leather tops from a shoe that he made like a piece of iron that went down, and he made like a shoe at the bottom of it. And it was really a weird looking, and I had one of them. He made 3, 4 of them, and I had them for quite a few years. I just had to keep that because it was part of him. And then the state, I believe, or somebody all chipped together and got him his artificial leg. And those are the ones we put our pennies in, and that little hole on the side. But he never liked it. He did walk up a little ways up the street and back because it would squeak, and he'd oil it, but it would squeak. He really liked the ones he made, but they wanted him to wear the new one. It did look something like a leg, but he never really cared for that leg. He liked his. But He could make anything. And it's really weird going to school when the people said they went store shopping. I didn't even know what they're talking about, Christmas shopping, because we didn't have anything, only handkerchiefs and clothes and the toys that Dad made. I only wished I had them now. I did have them for years and they disappeared. I don't know what ever happened to them, because I would have loved to have that wooden doll there on the end of that stick.
Now, what did your mother do for work?
Well, my mother took in washings and ironings. That's how come we all helped her with our little ironing board. And we helped her with the washings. And of course, we didn't have hot water. She had to heat her water on her wood stove. And then it got really, really hard times, and she had to go out and work for the people around the village, cleaning their homes. Sometimes she'd go out 2 or 3 miles to their places to go to work. In the winter and the summer, she always worked. And she worked very hard. But we all worked right along with her. When I was working at the bakery, we got $12 a week for a 40-hour week. So that was good pay back then. But I know we only had $1 or $2 of it, and the rest of it, Mr. Woodard, who owned the bakery, would give to my mother to help pay off her bills and her mortgage and her taxes. We never saw it, we never missed it, we never questioned it. And today I think back, it's a wonderful thing to do for your parents, but yet we never realized, well, we kind of knew what we were doing, but not really. We really did help, all of us. Those were our chores, and we just went along with it and did it. We never complained. I only wished I could have done more, because Mom really worked awfully hard. My sister Dot quit school in the 8th grade, but I really loved school and I wanted to finish, but I got as far as the end of my freshman year, and I had to get done because Mom couldn't make it with the money. So I went to work full-time at the bakery, year-round. And then, of course, I got married on my 17th birthday, so then my husband Keith helped support my mother. He did an awful lot for her, buying her groceries and things, which...
What did your sisters and brothers do?
Well, of course, they were in the war, both of them. My brother Freddie enlisted in the Air Force his senior year, and he went on 46 missions over Italy. He got shot down a couple of times, but he did live through the war. He was gone shortly after, as the war started in 42 and Dad died in 41. And they always said they wouldn't take my brother Johnny, he was 27, because that was the support of the family helping Mom. He did help my mother. His checks too, of course, helped us. We never realized it until we got older that it was our brother that was helping right along with us. But then they drafted him at 27, and he was sent over to Germany, and he was taken prisoner of war, and he was put in a concentration camp. Of course, when he came home, he was never the same brother as he was when he left, but he still helped Mom out. We always helped our mother out. All of the kids did, one way or another. There was just something that you did back in my day, and you didn't mind doing it.
Tell about the time that you were at the movies and you saw your brother.
Of course, we didn't go to the movies very often because my father never believed in movies. In fact, he never saw one in his life. But Shirley Temple movies he'd let us go to. So, but after he died, my mother, my sister Dorothy and I went to the movies, and my sister Georgie, by the way. And of course, we had got a missing in action about my brother Johnny. And of course, our house was so sad because both boys were gone, and Mom was really struggling there. So we sat there in the movies, and of course, they always had the newsreel of the war on. And of course, my brother had been missing for about 5 months, and we didn't know if he was alive or dead. And looking upon that screen, it showed the prisoner of wars that the German had of our soldiers, which I, of course, know now how they got the films out. I mean, of course they got films out. They had people behind the lines. But there was my brother sitting on a stone. And my mother got up and screamed, "There's Bub." Kind of brings tears to my eyes, so I guess I better wait a minute here. And sure enough, it was my brother. He was alive. And of course, it was about 2 weeks later we got word from the Red Cross that he was alive and he was a prisoner of war. We wrote to him all the time, and he wrote to us, and of course it was on like a film. And it was edited, of course, so there wasn't much said in it because about everything was blanked out. So he told us afterwards he was saying too much in his letters, and that's why they did that. He escaped 3 times because the Americans always believed you've got to escape. You've got to get back to the lines. And they had one, the commander, had him escape, and he got quite a lot of beatings. But they never made it. They stayed right there during the war, until the war was over, in the prison camp. He was taken about the 2nd day in the invasion of Normandy. I always asked him, I says, how did you feel, Bub, when you had to go over that ship to go in and fight? He says, if somebody hadn't shoved me, I never would have gone. He says, I wasn't a brave person fighting because I didn't want to kill. But he says, I had to. I had to serve my country. So that's the way it was with him. And of course my brother Freddie came home before, of course, Johnny. And he was listed as a hero in our town, going on so many missions and what he did. Of course, then again, of course, he also started right in helping Mom again. There was no ending of helping our mother because we were brought up, you always help. You always, there's just something you did in our family. And my father used to help people. I can remember our neighbors. It was hard times, of course, during the Depression back in those days. And our neighbors couldn't pay their light bill. And you've got to realize that we were very poor too. But we never knew we were poor. It wasn't talked about we were poor. Because we thought we were rich, having all the things that we did have. And our neighbors had no lights. Well, they come over and told Dad they'd shut his lights off because they couldn't pay their bill. Well, Dad says, we can fix that up. We'll get an extension cord and we'll run it right over to your house and we'll get it all ready for you and you can have your lights. I don't know what they did between him and the neighbor. They got it all set and they had lights. Well, of course, the town officials found out that my father was putting electricity in that house and they came and told him he couldn't do it. Well, my father said to them, and I'll never forget it because we usually weren't allowed in the room when he talked business with anybody. But he said, you show me in the book where I can't run a cord over to their house and give them some of my electricity. My bill is paid. You show me in the book, and they couldn't show it because it wasn't there. So he continued giving them electricity, and they got on their feet and paid Dad back. But I said, it's neighbor help neighbor and friend help friend, and that's the way everything was. I'd like to go back through those years again. I really would. And know what I know today, because boy, my father was just like Robin, always wanting to help somebody. I guess all my children are like that. I know they're all good to us. So I think some of it is rubbed off on them, what my father has told me. You help other people who are down and out, and you'll be well rewarded. Maybe not in money, but you will in love. And that we had plenty of.
Okay.
I can remember their radio in the living room. Every Sunday night at news time, there couldn't even be a whisper. They couldn't whisper anyways. He didn't allow it in the house. But he didn't want any noise. Nothing. Because he would listen to that radio. I don't remember who the newsman was, but he'd come on saying, sad news tonight. And Dad would listen to the news, and when he got done listening to it, he would say to my mother, Ellen, we're going to be in a war, and it's going to be a bad one. You better get prepared. And sure enough, he died May 1st, 5 o'clock, 1941. I was there, my sister and I. We were the only two home with him. He sent us out on the porch, I can remember, and we looked in, we got the neighbors to help us. But anyways, he sure was right, because Pearl Harbor was bombed, and that was supposed to be a surprise, but he said there was going to be bad wars. I don't know how he knew it, but he sure was right. But he died before it happened. In a way, I'm glad. Because I don't think he could have stood to see his boys go off like that. It was bad enough for the rest of us, and it was bad for everybody, not just us. But I wish, like Robin, she loves to know about history. I try to tell her, but I wish she could have known my father. Because, boy, she could drill him and get so much information, because he never talked about his mother and father, his family. I never heard anything about his mother and father. I didn't even know my grandfather was in the Civil War, only that he had 2 Civil War guns in his closet that must be his father gave him. He never talked about it. He only talked about good things and our work and us. And when people would come to the house, especially men that used to come and visit my father, he had a lot of men folks that were neighbors. We had to go out of the room, go outdoors and play, or go out on the porch. We were not allowed in the room. So we never knew what they were talking about, and they never talked about anything in front of us, I guess, that they wanted us to hear. But I kind of like that in a way, because we didn't ever hear any bad news.
What about alcohol then? Was there...
Oh, my father made his own home brew. Oh, my mother was so against it. But boy, he would make his home brew, and when he made his home brew, he always made us root beer, us kids. We helped bottle the root beer, but he'd never allow us to help bottle his home brew. Yes, he'd drink his home brew, but not to really get drunk. I never remember my father being drunk, but I know my mother was death against that. He'd let me have a foam off the top of his beer. I love that foam. I think I could have turned into an alcoholic if I kept it out. But he used to say, Marge, you can have the foam. Well, he loved it. He sure could make the brew, and he gave it to his friends that came to visit. They'd all sit around and have a glass. I don't remember him ever drinking out of the bottle. They had it in a glass. Your mother would always walk out onto the porch, I know, with her hands in her apron pocket or pocket to her dress, and sit out there while he was doing it. She never drank in her life that I know of. And of course, she never smoked. And my father never smoked, that I could ever remember. Never saw him smoke. But he did chew tobacco. But he, of course, gave that up. I know when he got coughing in the house, we all had to either go out on the porch, and of course in the wintertime we, of course, didn't. And we had the house fumigated a lot. I guess it was to get rid of the germs, my mother used to say. Because of Stonecutter's TB, we used to all thought it was catching. And I always thought that. We had to be tested all the time if we had TB. But then I found out, when I got pregnant for my daughter Bonnie, that it wasn't TB that you catch, it was Stonecutter's TB, and that was the first I knew of it, so I really don't know why he even lost his leg. And Robin just said maybe he was diabetic, but there's none in the family that is, but I don't know. Because like I said, he never discussed anything about sickness of himself. I know we went to visit him and stuff, but he never talked about himself or anything about what was wrong. Of course, I was only 12 when he died, so I've talked to my oldest sister about it all the time, and she tells me that she can remember when Daddy had all kinds of money, and Mother had a housekeeper to help her with the children. And of course, she is going to be 81 years old, and I can understand, but she's a lot older than me. But I can't remember ever having a lot of money. And I know the pictures I have of my mother and my father and my older brothers and sisters, they're all dressed up in beautiful little dresses and ribbons in their hair, and they do look. Mother had like pearl beads on, and they really look rich, but not in my day. It must be that when Dad got sick that he ran out of money or whatever, because I don't ever remember having any money, only to buy our groceries and things with and live. We ate most everything right out of the garden, and Dad raised chickens, and we ate a lot of chicken.
You know that picture that we've got of Grandpa with the meat, Robin?
Yes, I don't know why he delivered meat. He never talked about it. See, that had to be long before I can even remember him working, because he had both legs then.
Yeah. Well, he looked young in that picture.
Yeah, see, I don't remember that, and he never talks. I don't know why he's got that on. It looks like he was delivering meat, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know, and he was sitting on that horse, and I don't know what kind of a uniform that was he had
That
on.
Civil War uniform, I think.
But I got a lot of pictures when he had both legs. You see, I only remember the sore leg, and I guess I can go back to the first and second grade, but I still don't ever remember my father working. He was sickly. But Evelyn said that came, like she says, when the second batch of kids came. And I'm one of them, because she's so much older.
So how big of a span is there between the ages of the kids?
Well, not many, really, truly, but there is between her and me, because I'm one of the last ones. I'm next to the youngest, so you start out with Evelyn being in her 80s, and you go right down through. And of course, Johnny was, he'd be 85, he was living. My mother'd be 103, and Daddy would be 124, I believe.
So your father was a lot older than your mother.
My father was 17 years older than my mother. Yes. But we never knew it. We never knew the difference between their ages. They never talked about it. When you look back at it, Robin, we didn't talk about much of anything to do with... I guess we minded our own business.
Huh. But your father's brothers, they all farmed, right?
Yes. Yes, they were farmers. Of course, the only one I actually knew was Uncle Herb. I don't remember the others at all. And his sister died very, very young, and I don't know why. She's buried up there where Grandpa and Grandma is. But,
Is that Lenore? Is her name Lenore?
yes. And I know that one, I thought Dad always said, had a very bad teeth, and he died because of his mouth got so sore and stuff, but I don't even know if that's true or not. That was Uncle Harry, and he lived in Worcester, Vermont. I want to go over there and get his birth certificate and see if it says on there what his... But I don't think they'd have his birth certificate because he didn't have Daddy's.
Well, whose grave was it that we went to in Hyde Park? That was your great-great-grandfather, right?
No.
Hugh.
He was my great.
He was your great-grandfather.
My great. He was my father's grandfather.
And
Hugh Boyce.
And he was
born in Hyde Park. And my grandfather, Robert Boyce, my father's father, was born in Hyde Park. Then he went into the Civil War, and then they had the farm up and woke up when he came out.
But Hugh was born in the early 1700s.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We figured that all out one time, but I can't remember.
Yeah, because
Remember?
1700s is really early. That's when the first settlers came to Vermont.
Yeah,
So
he must have been one of the first settlers. I remember we went to the town clerk's office, and they said they didn't even have to record them back in those days, and definitely no birth certificates.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even find my father's, because they didn't even have to back in his day either, 104 years ago. She says that they could record them at the town clerks if they wanted to, but most of them did it in their Bible. And Daddy did write everything in his Bible. His Bible was like a diary. If you had whooping cough, it was written in there, and that was left to my brother Freddie. And Freddie has given it to his daughter, Wanda. So I don't have that. I wished I did, but
I wonder if she'd let us look at it.
I'd love to read it, but I can remember what it looks like because I used to go in Dad's bedroom and read it all the time after he died. I used to go in there and look at it, and Dot and I would look to see if our name was in it, if he was writing anything about us, but it was only a diary. Like Marge had whooping cough and the date, the doctor called at a certain time, but not many doctors ever came, or we went to him because he did his own thing, made his own medicine, but it was a regular diary. Who came to visit? Those empty pages was really written into a lot. I can just picture that, because we looked at it so much. Then my mother gave it to Freddie, which is no more than right because he's namesake. He was named after Daddy, so I'm glad Freddie got it, but I wished I could have it, but I don't think I'll ever get it. And I would have loved my grandparents' Bible. But
Where's that? Do you know for sure?
I don't really truly know who got that. I know Uncle Herb always told me, because I was always interested in everything that ever happened. He always said to me, Marge, you can have the family Bible, Grandpa and Grandma's. So when I called up Aunt Edith after Uncle Herb died, and I told her that the Bible, the family Bible, was mine, and she said, no, you can't have it. Of course, and Aunt Edith wasn't really my aunt. She was my cousin. Because Alan Boyce, he was raised as my uncle. When he was raised by my father, we always called him Uncle Alan. I never knew he was my cousin. His father died very young, and my father raised him.
And who was his father?
I'd have to look.
Was he the one that died with the bad teeth?
No, that was Harry. No. He's the one that we went up to the grave and looked at his grave. What was his name?
Carl.
It's in that book over there, but I've got it written underneath the picture, Uncle Alan's father. You see, I never knew Dad raised him. I think they all did.
Hugh? Was there a Hugh?
There was a Hugh. I think it is Hugh. I think that's just who it was. It'd be in, yeah, shut that off and then it will look.
Fine, just keep it going. I just want your voice anyways, I don't care. Maybe I'll give this back to you, and we'll go down there together and do this. 'Cause I don't want nothing to happen to
No, it would be in my book.
in your book.
My book, my album.
Oh, you brought your album?
I brought my album so that you could, I was going to show you you've seen the pictures 1,000 times, but I didn't know if you wanted any of the pictures to be done off. Well, I've got it here.
I haven't done any of these. Jesus. I haven't done anything to these. I don't know how I could have. I haven't even done anything with it.
Well, don't worry about it. It's going to be mine. That's one thing that's going to be mine. Evelyn said I could have that.
I'm going to put these in here. I haven't done anything with it, but the pictures are all falling out, Mom.
Yeah, I know. The only reason we have to keep the pictures that way is because there's a paper in there telling who they are.
Right. But I haven't copied it. I'm going to give this back to you today. I'm so afraid I'm going to do something to it that I'm going to keep these pictures.
Yeah. We're going to have those done off.
Yeah, but we'll go and do this. Hang on to that. I don't think this is mine, though. This must be yours.
Yeah, but you wanted to make a copy, didn't you?
But I got one. I found mine.
Oh.
So I'm going to put this back in here. I found my copy. Remember I lost it?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to give this back to you. I'll keep the one in the front because I still want to do it.
Just give me that album there a minute, Robin, and let me look and see if I can find out who Uncle Alan's father was. It's way, way in the back. This is priceless to me. No. Maybe
Was it John?
It was John. I know it was there. I'm almost sure. There's those dates. The sister that died was Leona. The other sister, of course, as you know, was Aunt Maud. Maud Davis. That was Daddy's sister. No, John Boyce was Ellen's father. I remember because I used to always think that Johnny was named after him. Of course, there's Aunt Maud's picture. She was married to Walter Davis.
We didn't write down about your great-grandfather?
I did, but I don't know what I did with that paper. It has to be stuck in here somewhere. I gotta get this all up there. See, there's Daddy.
Yeah.
Handsome, wasn't he? There's Harry. He's the one. It's my marriage book. These mean an awful lot to me, these pictures. See, I have all that, and I didn't know maybe someday you would like copies of it yourself. That my brother Johnny and my mother, you know. I know it's not pleasant things, but yeah.
There's Herb.
It's Uncle Herb right there.
Who's that right there?
Herb. That's Uncle Herb. It's my mom. Of course, Evelyn. I have Dad's death certificate.
So where did we write down about?
I don't know. And I know we did.
There's the farm.
Yeah. I love that picture. Doesn't look like that today, does it?
There's a picture.
Who do you think that is? Marilyn Bradley.
No.
Yes, it is. Her mother put it in.
Oh, there's your father with the meat
Yeah,
wagon.
and there's Daddy singing. I never knew who that man was. But Grandpa and Grandma there. And there's Johnny and there's Evelyn. Isn't that an old picture? See how nice my mother, wasn't she beautiful? Dad, he always, that's when he had both legs. See, God, he was a nice man. You would have loved it. I know you would, because we did.
You know you couldn't talk at the table.
No, but we did a lot of talking away from the table, out on the porch. I mean, we talked a lot, but not at the table.
I wonder what we did with that piece of paper that we...
I don't know. I hope I haven't lost it. It looks like, don't it?
Is it a Bradley finger tree? I bet you haven't lost it, but remember we wrote down when we were at the cemetery?
Yeah, I know.
There he is on the horse.
Yeah, this is the picture of Daddy on tin. Back in those days, they had everything on tin.
Yeah, who's he with?
No idea. You know they had their pictures taken a lot. I can remember seeing that in my father's album. And they gave that...
Well, that wouldn't be his father.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't even have any idea what his father looks like. No, I don't think so. You see him when he had the two legs?
Yeah.
Long before, and I don't even know where these pictures were taken. See how rich they dress? See their beautiful dresses, and Mom, they're all dressed up.
Yeah.
Goodness, we never had our dresses were made out of green bags from the platform we fed the chickens.
Well, something must have happened so that... Probably... Oh, wait a minute, what's this?
No, that's about Grandpa Boys. I wrote that there so that... Because I don't want your kids ever forget that you had a great-grandfather that fought in the Civil War, because boy, I'm proud of it. See, this is about him and Herb Boyce is Dad's brother, and John, so that is Daddy's, it's not his father, but I know we got that written down. We'll probably have to go back to that cemetery. Write it again. That's not in here. Probably stuck somewhere in my...
Yeah, we wrote it down. What's this?
Those are things that I wrote down.
Oh.
But I got other things written down in my pocketbook. Could be on them. Why don't you shut the camera off and we'll look. So I think after, what was he married?